Welcome to the Good News Show with me, your host, Professor Grant Schofield. The Good News Show brought to you by PreKure.com, where prevention is cure. The Good News Show, news designed for your frontal lobes, which give you the clues and the motivation and the simulation for what it takes to have a happy and healthy life. Now, what we're hearing out here, well, if you're anything like me and you've been locked down in some of these states and territories across Australia and New Zealand, you'd be aware by now that many of us are non-essential workers, which is slightly demoralising. Does our job really matter? And why are we stuck in front of screens doing Zooms the whole time? Why are we working long hours? Is there anything we can do about that and still achieve the things that we need to do? I think there's some good news there. And we're going to go to our field correspondent, Dr. Louise Schofield. We're going to go to her. She's out in the field. Actually, she's not on the field. She's just upstairs here from the Good News studio. So we'll see if we can connect with her now. Good evening, Louise. You're out there in the field. Actually, I think you're just upstairs. But what are you hearing out there about people being zoomed out?
Good evening, Grant. Yes, I am out in the field, upstairs in my home office. And man, about this time on a Friday, the zoomed out feeling is really there, isn't it?
Oh, and Tony, remember, I got my eye on you.
So what I'm hearing out here in the field is about the Pareto's Principle, or you may have heard this called the 80-20 rule. So let me tell you about that. What it means is that you achieve 80% of your results often from only 20% of the effort. It seems a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it? Because we think 50% of the effort, 50% of the results. But Pareto's Principle, or the 80-20 rule, tells us that actually 80% of the results come from 20% of our efforts. Just like I know that 20% of my clothes are worn 80% of the time. 80% of the wear in the carpet is from 20%.
No, everything you're saying makes sense.
Okay, so it's a common biological and universal principle across nature and humanity, and we're going to try and leverage that. What are you doing at PreKure next week, and what's your challenge for everyone else out there?
So the good news is that the 80-20 principle can apply to Zoom meetings. Thank goodness for that.
What's up?
Tony, I can see you. We can all see you.
So we're running a 1-week experiment in the office at PreKure next week. You're only allowed to book 15-minute Zoom meetings. Doesn't matter how important it is. You make sure you come to the meeting with all your prep done, 15 minutes, reclaim the other 45 minutes. So that's like the 75-25 principle, but hey, we're giving it a go. So no meetings over 15 minutes. That's my challenge to you. The good news is you can reclaim 45 minutes of every hour to actually get work done, not just talk about it in Zoom meetings.
Okay, or alternatively, you could also use some of that extra time to get out and about. And of course, because the 80-20 principle also applies to your fitness, at the first 20% of effort that puts you in, you get 80% of the way there. So you can do that as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the 80-20 principle. When you start applying it, it applies to all areas of your life. I think the fitness one's a huge one, actually.
All right, Louise, well, good luck with the PreKure challenge. Frankly, I'll be looking forward to not being on those long Zoom meetings. Is that it? That's a new word that I think is now to be zoomed out. One is zoomed or over-zoomed, introducing that to the English vocabulary along with new words like Googled and all that sort of stuff. So that's good stuff. Thanks, Louise. We'll look forward to hearing from next week how that challenge has gone.
Thanks, Grant.
Bye.
See you later.
The 80-20 principle, we'll put a couple of links through here. I think the book by Richard Koch, K-O-C-H, is a great one if you want to do some extra for curious minds there. Also, we're going to link to a podcast that Tim Ferriss did with the same fellow, Richard Koch, which is also a great listen. They're both quite the characters, and you also know that Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week is built around this 80-20 principle as well. So that's the 80-20 principle. Stop getting zoomed out. You know it's a thing. Time to claim some time back and have a good time. If you're not essential, what the hell? Do something else as well. Don't be sitting there doing work-like activities. Okay, the weather. Weather forecast is normal. I've had a look across Australia and New Zealand. There's a complex set of ridges, troughs, highs and lows. Could be fine, could rain, but it's probably going to be fine. And even if it's raining, get out there anyway. Remember, the weather is like your life. Regardless of the conditions, it's always good to get on with it and take some positive action, get out amongst it. The blue sky is always behind the clouds. That's the Good News Show for tonight. Good night.